Luqman, I want to take you to the oil and gas space since I know that's where you cover. We've seen that market, or rather that segment of the market really lag this year, and some of the challenges are very well documented. Of course, the fuel subsidy probe is putting some pressure on players in that sector. So can you just give me an update on what's going on? I know at some point many of these guys couldn't get their money from the government.
Yeah, naturally, just like you have said, what is happening out there is certainly going to affect the market. If the company is not doing very well, chances are that the shares of that particular company is not going to do well on the exchange. And exactly, that's what we've been seeing with the petroleum products marketing company on the exchange.
But what's the latest on that probe? Are subsidies being disbursed now? And what exactly is going on?
Yeah, subsidy is being disbursed. As for the probe, well, some companies have been blacklisted, so to speak, because of what has happened in the past. They are still being investigated, but much has not been seen on the side of the investigation. But the good news is that those that have been cleared have started receiving their subsidy payments, and we hope that will continue as we go. So if that happens, at least we are sure that those who have been cleared are going to continue to have allocation and are going to be paid as they deliver the products.
If we move on the discussion to the PIBMs, it's something we've been discussing for years now. This year again seems to be ending, and it's highly unlikely we're going to see that bill passed this year. But I think the big discussion really should be beyond the bill being passed, but the quality of the bill itself. The rhetoric we're hearing from some of the oil and gas majors these days is that it's very unlikely we're going to see any major investments in Nigeria if that bill is passed in the state it's in. In fact, there is a report that ExxonMobil CEO says that oil production in Nigeria could fall by 40% by 2020 if that bill goes ahead the way it has been currently constructed. Your thoughts on this rhetoric and perhaps what is likely to happen to that bill?
Yeah, my personal opinion is that that bill is still going to be reviewed because if you look at it, the multinational IOCs have been complaining about some aspects of the bill, especially the fiscal regime. And whether we like it or not, they are the big investors in this space, and we still need them around. What the industry, the practitioners are saying is, hey, let's look at that bill again. Let's the two parties, particularly the government and the IOCs, let them come to a common agreement to look at that bill again and see how they can look at each party's grievances and fears and address those. As you must be aware, the East African frontier is discovering crude now. Right. The same thing with southern aspect, particularly gas in Mozambique and all that. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, that is where the investment will go if they are more attractive than Nigeria. Whichever way you want to look at it, we don't have the domestic financial capacity to really take the advantage of that industry. So in the long run or in the short to the medium term, certainly we still need the multinationals. And for our own good, the best we will do is to always make Nigeria a very, very good investment destination. And the only way to do that is to look at everybody's grievances and incorporate those into the bill. Right. It is only then that we can have a bill that is acceptable to everybody. What
I hear you saying is that really it's the IOCs, the international oil companies that have the upper hand right now because they are the ones that need to make the big investments. Do you get a sense that the government is listening to this discussion, to this rhetoric coming out of the likes of ExxonMobil?
Yes, let me talk about having the upper hand. The fact is this: when you invest, you want to take your investment to where you are going to get the best return. And you also need to realize that everybody, most especially the developing countries, are looking for investment. So if you are not making yours attractive, then there's going to be a problem because the money will go elsewhere. Now, the government, I believe, is doing something about that because if you've been listening to the Petroleum Minister in the recent days, she has made it clear that the bill as it is now is not casted in stones, that the government is ready to listen to the IOCs to look at their grievances and see how that can be addressed in the bill. I believe they are still talking, and I believe if everybody, is able to listen to one another, we are going to have a bill that's going to, address the issues that are being raised. I mean, it will address everybody's grievances. All right, that's the way we want it to go, really.
Okay, let's end on this note, and I want to get your thoughts on this point that I heard from an analyst. I heard that the window is really closing for Nigeria, and there's a sense that if we do not get this investment in within the next 3 years, we will miss an opportunity that perhaps this country will regret forever, because as we do know, the US is making huge investments in the oil and gas space. In fact, some suggest in the next 5 to 10 years, they probably wouldn't even need Nigerian oil anymore. So your thoughts on the urgency to get this bill reconstructed and passed as soon as possible?
Well, you are very correct. The fact remains this: if you have money to invest, you will go to wherever the country is ready. If you have been looking at the newspapers today, there is an issue that's actually coming up now. There is an investment that Total is supposed to be making, same with Mobil on their Era field and Egina field for Total. Now, the government is saying we need to extend the contract and investment period, and these companies are saying no, we can't do that because we've waited for so long, and we can't wait any longer. And what that means is that if this is not taken care of now, I mean, that money goes elsewhere, and that supports your assertion and the analyst assertion. So we really have got to do something about those issues now and address them as quickly as possible. I mean, before we are being seen as an unserious country. It's very important.
I think we'll be talking about this thing until we see that bill either reconstructed or passed in one form or the other. Thanks so much for joining us on the show today. Luqman Agboola is an oil and gas analyst at Diamond Bank.